Hi, my name is Sarah Guyford, and today I'm going to talk to you about how this recession has impacted retailers and what the future generation of millennials will do to the retail landscape. And my passion for this subject happened when I was interviewing for an internship, and I began discussing my goals with the interviewee and about how I wanted to open my own store. And she asked me if I was going to include an internet retailing aspect of my business. And I immediately said, no, I'm not doing that. That's a whole other thing. I'm not going to get into that. And she asked me, well, how do you plan to survive? And that's when I really realized that the internet had changed retailing, and so I was going to need to include that aspect in my business if I was going to survive. So now we've been in this recession since fall of 2007, and a recession is defined as 2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP. And before that all hit, in 2005, WGSN, which is a trend analysis and apparel industry database, conducted a survey amongst women, and they reported that 52% of women bought majority of their wardrobe was bought at full price at the beginning of the season. That's when consumers still had a see it, want it, buy it attitude. Obviously, that has changed since we've been in the recession, and there's now an emphasis on saving, and we've learned the patience of waiting and the rewards of waiting. And so WGSN conducted that poll again, and they found that 65% of women said the majority of their wardrobes were bought on sale, which is drastically different than over half saying they bought them at full price. So what has happened in this economy is we have 2 types of products. We have product A, which is our premium product, it's a higher priced product, and then we have product B, which is either a generic brand, a lower quality, or lower price. In high times, the consumer will tend to favor product A, despite how good product B is. In a recession, the consumer will then shift their income over to product B, and they've learned that there's still value in product B, and that they don't necessarily need to spend as much as they were on product A. But the problem with this is that once we come out of a recession, retailers have a really hard time getting consumers to shift back to product A because they've lowered pricing and they've offered incentives for the consumer to remain at the price point of B. So, 2 examples, 2 retailers that have really had to do this are 2 boutiques in the local area, and I interviewed them to see how they were specifically impacted by the recession and what they're doing now. The first one is Alley Cat in Glen Ellen, and the owner is Sandy Moore, and she said before the recession, she simply just opened her doors. She didn't do anything to get a customer base, nothing to maintain it, they just were there. Then, once the news broke of the recession, she said that she spent many days in her store wondering if anyone would even come in based on what they heard on the nightly news. And so, to combat that drastic increase in sales, she began offering promotions, coupons, all sorts of incentives to get customers to come into her store. And she did what a lot of retailers didn't do in the recession. She kept her staff, she kept her hours, and she kept her product assortment because she felt that one good sale would pay one of her workers' wages, and she felt that even in a recession, the customer still deserved a choice. But she got smarter about buying. She bought less trendy pieces, more bread and butter type products that she could have and sell day in and day out. Another thing that she also did, other Glen Ellen businesses, is participate in the 350 Project, which is been promoted throughout the nation by Cinda Baxter, its founder, who's a retail consultant. And what she asked consumers to do was to think about 3 businesses in their community, independently owned, that they would hate to see leave. And the point of the 350 Project is for consumers to spend $50 in one of the 3 stores that they like just once a month, just to keep them this movie. Because for every $100 spent at an independent brick and mortar store, $68 comes back to the community through payroll, taxes, other expenditures. $100 spent at a big box store, only $43 comes back. And if you shop online, virtually none of it comes back to the community. So it's a way to keep our, our main street small business stores booming, and it's a way for other retailers to build each other up and form a community rather than competing. The other boutique I interviewed was Nicola Boutique, owned by Monica Crossan in Hartford, Illinois. And before the recession, she spent a lot of her budget heavily on advertising, promoting her business, large events to get her clients to come in. And she then, once the recession hit, cut staffing, cut hours, cut her product supply, everything. And the thing to help her survive was she then began to promote via Facebook, and she set up her internet store to run, she set up her website to run the internet store. So she felt helped really balance out that lack of customers coming into the store. And both of these boutiques really epitomize the sender-receiver relationship communication theory, which the boutiques then send out a message to the consumers, and the consumers respond by coming and providing feedback. If the consumers don't come and cash in on those incentives, then they are telling the boutique that that's not something they are interested in. Versus when they send out these incentives and the customers respond and cash in on those, it just becomes the cycle of this constant sender-receiver relationship. Now, how is this going to change with the new generation of millennials? Millennials are defined as anyone born between the years of 1978 and 1997. And they are bigger than the boomers. There's 85 million of us. There are only 80 million boomers. We stand to inherit what is left of our grandparents' and parents' wealth. And we are technologically savvy, which puts us at a competitive advantage in the workplace. We are already connected constantly. We are already online. And us as multi-channel consumers spend 50% more than the store-only consumer, which would be our parents and our grandparents. We don't have the time or the schedule to go and shop around to all these different stores. We simply, in a store, are going to force retailers to do a number of things. Applications like Price Checker are going to force retailers to price match on the spot. People don't have to go home and look through flyers anymore. They can just pull it up on their phone. It's going to force their sales staff to be more knowledgeable because we can check out anything we need to know without ever leaving the store. And we are already expecting our favorite brands and retailers to be online. An example of this is Use, which is a strictly online retailer. And in April of last year, they launched a mobile test website without telling anyone. It was just a test. In the first month, they received 710 orders from customers, which proved that the Use customer was already looking for them to be online, already expecting them to be online. And so, now in this new internet stage, whether they're setting up an e-commerce site or whether they're just using Facebook, which is a genius marketing tool because it's free advertising, you open yourself up to the world, and boutiques are selling through Facebook. And they don't have to deal with returns and shipping and all of that. They can simply just upload photos for their fans or followers to see. The one thing the store still has a competitive advantage over the internet for is unplanned buying. We've all felt buyer's remorse thanks to a really good salesperson. And the internet tries to hide those suggested items at the bottom don't really persuade people as much as a good salesperson could. Because on the internet, if you want to buy a gold bracelet for under $25, you put all those filters on, and then you don't see anything else they have to offer. But a good salesperson, if they're really good, you walk in for a t-shirt and you leave with the whole outfit. So there are still going to be reasons why we need a store, because people still like trying it on, and people still like going to a small town that has a developed downtown area. But for retailers to not become a part of the internet retailing world or engage in social media, in the long run, they're only hurting themselves, because this new generation of millennials is going to expect it and is going to force them to be a part of it if they want to survive. Thank you.